together. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, as you know, 16 Days of Activism Against Sexual and Gender-Based Violence is an international campaign that is commemorated annually. And this is done to reinforce, elevate, and collaborate efforts intended to end all forms of violence against women and girls. The campaign runs every year from the 25th of November through the 10th of December. And we start on the 25th of November because that's the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And on the 10th of December because that's the International Human Rights Day. This year, we mark 31 years of 16 Days of Activism globally and 21 years of the commemoration of the campaign here in Liberia. With specific emphasis, the SDGs goal number 5 calls for gender equality, and under this we talk a lot about the elimination of gender-based violence in all of its forms. Gender-based violence can take so many different forms, from physical to mental, and it has long-lasting negative impact on women and girls' well-being. This also extends to the family members because, of course, by extension, they have to suffer with us. The scars of SGBV are so far-reaching that most times to prevent women and girls from reaching their own full potential and serves as a stumbling block in their lives. This year's 16 Days campaign highlights the need to strengthen collaboration with local and international partners and reflect on what we can do just amongst ourselves, working hand in hand with each other in our communities to eliminate the disproportionate violence faced by our women, our girls, the vulnerable in our society, thereby continuing our efforts all year round. We go ahead most times and we celebrate the 16 days, and this is just a call to action during these days. So it doesn't mean that we only limit our time, as you all know, to 16 days. We're working 24/7, 356 days, but we have this set time that we want to say that we're going to join together and put notice on the fact that we have to fight. This year, the global theme is Unite, Activism to End Violence Against Women and Girls, while our local theme is With One Voice, Let's End Violence Against Women and Girls and Children. This approach, fellow Liberians and our friends in the international community, is also in alignment with our Pro Agenda for Prosperity and Development, Pillar 1, where it talks about power to the people, and it highlights gender equality as a strategy to eliminate gender-based violence and other social inequalities of women and girls in particular. As the ministry whose portfolio is fundamentally on leading advocacies for the well-being of families inclusive of women, men, children, and the elderly, the less fortunate, and the disadvantaged, we are very much aware of the importance of community-based interventions through campaigns, programs, or activities aimed at promoting gender equality. Action similar to the 16 Days of Activism is therefore crucial because it shines a spotlight on the issue of violence against women. It creates a platform also for public awareness about what needs to change in order for us to work on preventing GBV from happening at local, national, and regional levels. Historically, 31 years ago in 1991, the idea of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence was orchestrated. It is presumably one of the most illuminating feminist ideas put forward by the First Women's Global Leadership Institute. The 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence is a global campaign entirely dedicated to eliminating all forms of gender-based violence. Members of the media, these days we're choosing to emphasize that violence against women and girls is a violation of human rights and acknowledges the role of the patriarchal systems that we all exist in, especially here in Liberia, that embodies harmful traditional practices and legal policies that are silent on abuses against women and girls, thereby denying women and girls the right to a dignified life. The objective of the 16 days includes us being sure that we encourage activists to focus on the issues that are most pertinent to our local context. We always talk about local context because it's not a one-size-fits-all. We all have to look at things the world over and see what we can do as it regards our own countries, our own communities, and our own citizens that we have to work with. During these 16 days, the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection, along with our partners, especially UN Women, intend to harness a concerted effort in accomplishing the following. Want to ensure a massive nationwide awareness to all communities in the 15 counties of Liberia to promote prevention and response efforts to addressing sexual and gender-based violence and other forms of violence against women, including female genital mutilation and child marriage. We want to advocate for the protection of women's and girls' rights in all sectors of society through media engagements. We want to engage more males and bring them on board to join the fight against GBV, including our traditional leaders, as well as to enhance the eradication of FGM. We want to strengthen community ownership in the fight to eradicate gender-based violence, and we want to encourage a united society to accelerate the fight against gender-based violence because this is a societal problem. So far, I just want to give you a quick brief on the national progress. Members of the media, we are proud to disseminate that the CDC-led government, headed by His Excellency Dr. George Manawia, has made some meaningful gains towards ending all forms of violence against women and girls through the following steps. We were able to work hand in hand with our international partners and especially with our traditional elders, the chief and the souls, to ensure that there was a 3-year moratorium on the practice of FGM. This process was initiated through the collective engagement of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, our own ministry, and NACEL, the National Council on Traditional Chiefs and Elders. And this is a milestone achievement, and we cannot overemphasize this fact. In December of 2021, the Feminist-in-Chief, His Excellency Dr. George Manawia, affirmed our own government's commitment to ending FGM at a virtually held Summit for Democracy hosted by His Excellency Joseph R. Biden of the United States of America. And the placement of this ban is a clear manifestation of the fact that we as a people, we as a government, are ready to work together to ensure that sooner than later we see the elimination of FGM from our land. We're able to introduce a toll-free, first of its kind line. We've never had that in Liberia, 116 number. It is an alternative means through which the public can report cases of sexual and gender-based violence, child abuse, child labor. We can also report child trafficking, abandonment, neglect, missing children, exploitation in school and workplaces, as well as maternal emergencies. The exercise is intended to educate the public on the importance of utilizing the 116 numbers when need arises. Through these 16 days, we'll be talking more about that so that folks can really take advantage of being able to dial in for emergency purposes and for purposes of ensuring that attention is brought when there are crimes crimes going on in the community. We're able to work with our traditional elders where we're able to give them the allowance because at the end of the day, they have to be empowered and they have to take ownership to be able to do inventory on all growth in the country. The Ministry of Gender and the Ministry of Internal Affairs, with funding from partners, were able to work and collaborate with NACEL. And through NACEL, they were able to conduct inventory and identify 1,325 traditional practitioners and 721 traditional groups into 11 FGM practicing counties. And this is in 77 statutory and administrative districts in Liberia. To date, 300 of these traditional practitioners receive alternative livelihood support as an alternative means toward the abandonment of the practice of FGM. We're able to go ahead and work together again with the training of legislators and members of the religious and traditional councils on the social behavior change communication strategy. This gathering was meant to help key national stakeholders to be aware of the social behavior strategy and to also change some negative social norms in the communities. We went ahead and organized a 12-week training on psychosocial support to sexual and gender-based violence survivors and other vulnerable groups. With support from UNFPA, the training was organized to improve 40 of our social service workforce in evidence-based psychosocial counseling and case management. A lot of time in Liberia, we do not look at the clinical side of things and see if we can do medicine. A lot of time in the days past, our mother saying, we'll just take it to the Lord in prayer. We can continue doing that, but also we know that there are factors that include just being able to access medical care when you go through trauma. And so we're happy that we're able to train our folks so that they'll be able to help our communities better. We're also happy that we've been able to see the introduction of a draft FGM bill. The bill is seeking to abolish FGM and it was drafted, introduced, and sponsored at the national legislature. Again, the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection welcomes the move by the state personalities and will continue to support the passage of this bill. We continue working hand in hand with the communities, especially with our local actors, the civil society organization, the NGOs who are working with us on this. We have the NFGM working group, and we want to be sure that at the end of the day, we'll see that we have this bill move through the legislature and passed. Members of the media, while we hail our feminists in chief, our local and international partners, for the concerted effort and unflinching support in achieving this historical milestone, we would like to highlight that other forms of domestic violence, especially denial of resources, persistent non-support, abandonment of families by the sole provider of that family, child abuse and sexual abuse by parents, guardians, and all other people who are seen as trusted family members and friends are other forms of violence, which at times are noticed and at times are overlooked. And these are all grave contributing factors. We cannot overlook them at all. They are eating up the fabric of the Liberian society and gradually destroying the future of our young generation, whilst also serving as barriers to women and girls reaching their own full potential. In addition, negative and patriarchal cultural practices and beliefs are also major underlying factors in defining perceptions and attitudes. Child marriage, which is a harmful traditional practice, whilst on a considerable decline here in Liberia, is still active in several areas, and these are also severe factors that affect girls and the rights of children and further deprives them from attaining other aspirations like education, health, other basic social services, and living a violence-free life. Many girls who are still living within those spaces, pocket of areas where child marriage is still being illegally practiced because it is illegal to practice that, are being forced into the arrangement by their parents and family members. We call on these people to stop doing that because child marriage is illegal. Child marriage destroys a young girl, and we want to see ourselves have a community, a society of girls who are forward-thinking, who have access to education, who can be brave and be forward and live a life free of violence, and a life where they do not feel like they have to hide, they have to run away, they have to seek protection because of the wills and whims and caprices of their own parents and family members. Finally, we want to say that in addition to all of this, we want to use this medium to call on all of us, have this time of 16 days of reflection on fighting sexual and gender-based violence against women and children. We want to use it as a call of action for all of us to double our efforts in supporting the empowerment of women and girls. We want to ask each and every one of us to double our efforts in believing that a girl child can become a president, can become a minister, can become the richest woman in the world. We want to ensure that we continue to close the gap of inequality in Liberia between females and males. We want to ensure that we are working together when we make promises, when we make policies, to ensure that we are implementing where we say we will work together to ensure that women and girls are equal in this country. We're asked that human-related issues that are recurrent like this are looked at seriously as a community. We ask that we work together instead of being confrontational. We need to be able to work together in order to surmount these instances in our country. As such, addressing these issues requires the commitment of time, the commitment of talent, the commitment of financial resources. And as a nation, I believe that we can end sexual and gender-based violence, firstly, but most importantly, by uniting under one voice, uniting under one cause, uniting under one goal, and knowing that together we can achieve. Once we do that, I know that we can ignite a sense of purpose in our society that will soon become one where our people can live and thrive and prosper together. With this said, please be informed that we have several events that are coming up that will be held during these 16 days to commemorate the 16 days of activism against sexual and gender-based violence. Tomorrow we will be launching the official 16 days. It will be happening in Sunday Town here in Monserrado, rural Monserrado. We're very happy that we have with us our guest, Madam Jaha Dukara, who is a frontliner on the fight against FGM and child marriage. And she has such a rich experience, and she's such a strong and forward-thinking and forward-speaking person. And I'm sure that, over the past week or couple of days that she's been here, she's been able to make a difference in some of the lives of people that, you've touched. International Day of the Elimination of Violence Against Women is what tomorrow is, the 25th of November. We also have on the 29th of November, an International Women Human Rights Defenders Day. There'll be also programs going on that day. December 1st, we'll be commemorating World AIDS Day that is normally led by the National AIDS Commission, and they'll be letting us know what they'll be doing for the day. On December 2nd, we'll be having an all-men conference. The last time I talked about this at the MICAT press conference, the media there were like, wow, what are you talking about? And I want to say that again, we celebrate our men, because we know that in this fight, this is both gender. And a lot of the times, because men are most of the time 90 to 99 to 95% the perpetrator, we want to be sure that men are having a conversation with us. They are also in the lead in the communities, and we know that we have a lot of he for she's, a lot of champions of women's rights, and we want to ensure that we can celebrate men and have the conversations too, so that they themselves can think about ways in which we can engage each other to help in this fight. On December 3rd, we celebrate International Day of Disabled Persons. The National Commission on Disabled will be the ones leading this, but of course we'll be collaborating with them to ensure that we have inclusivity as we look about how we celebrate the 16 days. On December 6th is the anniversary of the Montreal Massacre, and this is something that will be commemorated also here. And then lastly, we have December 10th, which is the International Human Rights Day, and that will close us up for our 16 days of activism. But as you know, that 16 days does not start and end on November 25th and December 10th. We continue for the 365 days, but we will be able to just double down during these 16 days and just shine some light on some of the things that we'll work on through the course of the year. So thank you again for being here. We'll see you all tomorrow, hopefully in some town. Thank you, Madam Dukara, for being here, UN Women and other UN family, other members of government and other actors here from civil society and the women NGOs and other NGOs in the country. Thank you again.
I was the voice of the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection. We'd like to say thank you, Honorable Minister, for the presentation. Very shortly, we'll listen to our UN Women Ambassador on FGM and child marriage, who will just speak to us very briefly before we enter this dialogue.
Absolutely. I want to start by thanking the Honorable Minister, who I now call a dear friend as well as a sister, Madam Wulemesha Seidatar. Now I understand why Liberia had the first female democratic elected president. And I believe this week is actually the anniversary of when that happened, if it's not today. But I just want to say a huge thank you because, through her, I've been able to see women's leadership in this country. Through her, I've been able to see women's dedication. And it has been truly an honor visiting all the communities in Liberia and getting to understand the issues. And like the Honorable Minister said, activism for women's rights is not just during the 16 days of activism. And all of us need to understand that women's rights are human rights. And as the UN Women Goodwill Ambassador on the issues of ending female genital mutilation and child marriage, I came to Liberia to show that I'm not a stranger to these issues, as I was subjected to FGM myself as a baby and I became a child bride twice in my life. But a lot of girls like me never make it this far. They never get to sit at press conferences like this with the Honorable Minister where they share their stories. We hear about them and we feel sorry for them. But I am here as proof to show that African women are more than those sad stories. We can be more in our society, but it requires all of our efforts. We need to invest directly into these communities. We need to do that through the work that she's doing, as well as UN Women or other UN agencies, as well as the government of Liberia, by supporting traditional leaders so that they know that there are other ways they can make money that doesn't require violating the rights of other human beings. But not only that, we also need to show that young people can contribute to these conversations. And we need to show that Africans can lead on issues that impact our lives more than anything else. I think we need to have a holistic approach when it comes to ending the issue of violence against women and girls. And we need to understand that not a single person can do it. All of us, it takes a collective effort to come together, whether it's government, it's civil society, it's grassroots activists, it's traditional leaders. We call on all of society to know that this is their business and we need their support. And I think one of the things that makes Liberia very, very unique is that there's not a person that is against the women's rights movement. Your president calls himself the feminist in chief, and you have a minister of gender and on children's affairs that is talking about all of these issues that are usually swept under the rug in other places. So I think the media also has a huge responsibility, because you can report on human interest stories that people will listen to. You can do investigative journalism to show what is happening in Liberia and highlight that, so that we can have a sense of ownership from communities, because without your reporting, communities will never know what the realities are. I am so grateful for the hospitality that I've received in Liberia, for the kindness that your country people have shown me, and for the amazing food that you guys have been serving me on a single basis. Liberia has like the most amazing food. I wake up in the morning and I eat yams and fish stew for breakfast. For lunch, I either have potato leaf or cassava leaf or palava leaf. And for dinner, I have my acheke and my plantain. So for me, it feels like I'm in heaven. So I feel like I couldn't be in front of the Liberian media without saying that. So thank you guys, and thank you very much. I'm so honored to not only have you as a minister, but now I can say that I have a friend and a sister in you. So thank you.